customer. They said they had a gen that they haven't been using, and it shuts off when they put a load on it. And I was like, is the battery charged? Yeah, it worked yesterday. Battery's dead. That's not why. I couldn't even start it because there's something else wrong. And with the battery, I couldn't. John Deere 4042. Pretty sure it says it's a Magnum controller. But it does seem like it's a deep sea or a Basler, like the very beginning ones, the basic ones. It's not a 2020. It's like half of that. It's like a 1010. It's square, and it's got 4 arrow diagonals, and then it's got I even forget, but they need to put a new battery in there so that I can troubleshoot it. And I've got my jump pack charging because it was dead. That's why I'm mad. But this video, let's talk about troubleshooting with your meter. It's so important to get comfortable with your meter. You know, if you don't know how to use a meter, then that obviously means you don't know any electrical. And that means you're more than likely, if you're in the gen industry, you're more mechanic. But like I said, and that's why I honestly say, like, you know, in the trades, we get paid really well. There might be like the elevator union people that make more. But honestly, being a generator tech is probably the most difficult trade to learn. And the only reason for that is because, you know, and I don't want anyone that's in another trade, like if you're an HVAC technician, you're going to say, well, you've got to learn electrical also. And, you know, the whole refrigerant, you know, side of things. But as a gen tech, you've got to be good with engines mechanically. Diesel and natural gas and propane. You've got to know how to use a meter to troubleshoot an engine. So that's going to be DC. You've got to know how to check resistances, check a diode, check a capacitor. Then you need to know how to use a meter for voltage, for electrical. And I'm not just talking about either low voltage or even 12240, but you've got to know three-phase, single-phase. You got to know how AC alternating current works compared to how direct current works. You've got to know how to use a gas manometer, measuring water columns, and so a lot of people don't want to learn a whole nother trade. you know. And the difference between the gen trade and like HVAC is going to have low voltage, and then like literally maybe the power wires that will have either DC or 120 240. Obviously, when you get into the industrial or commercial side of things, the controller will have maybe 120 208 or 480, but that's all you really have to deal with. But, and let me take that back though, like if they're troubleshooting a breaker or like a board, you know, using a meter to check resistances to see if anything is shorted or open, you know, so you do need to learn that, but it's just more involved when you're a gen tech, because you've got the transfer switch. Also, you've got the generator, which is the alternator that creates the electricity. You have the engine, which is going to spin the rotor, which is in this, you know, the rotor stator is the alternator. And, you know, you got to know about the different phase strapping, if you need to change voltages on the gen. If it's got a 12 lead type setup, you can restrap it. Know how to, also what is you need to learn how to do is use your laptop to connect to the programs and software. You need to be able to find the software and download it and install it, connect to the controllers. You need to find the passcodes and learn to go through it. You need to be able to find the manuals. And then it comes down to also, like, when you're setting up a controller for a new installation, you will need to add certain alarms or inputs that the customer might want. Then that leads to being able to program using logic, you know. So it even involves programming. If you're not good with computers, you are not going to excel or move past residential. You might not want to, that's fine. But I'm just saying, if you wanted, like I wanted to work on the biggest generators out there. And through my research, it paid more than residential, obviously. You have more oil, like more gallons of oil for oil changes. So that's, you know, you're charging a percentage markup. That's more items to charge a markup on type deal. So with that being said though, that also means that you need to invest in a lot more tools than a typical trade. You need to have multiple meters, you know, laptop, the full mechanics sort of set side of things, then the whole electrical side of things. And you know, a lot of, from just what I've experienced since I started in the trades, if you have someone who is a baby boomer, who is part of the baby boomer era in a way, more than likely, you know, you will have people that were able to evolve and adapt and learn how to use a laptop and a computer. I know my dad, he can type on it, but like he doesn't know how to navigate a computer, Windows or Mac. He doesn't know how to go through the file system and go from like the C drive to the user, to your name, to your program files, to then find the program, as one way of doing it. He doesn't know how to do that. He barely even can find, like, at the bottom with the open applications you've got, he can barely, like, see that, And so a lot of people that were unlucky when the computer thing sort of thing came out and it was incorporated in troubleshooting and programming, kind of were, like, restricted because they didn't want to learn it. You had a lot of people in the trade, it's getting better. People are, they're either retiring, but they didn't want to do their notes on a computer. They wanted to do paper. I'm not a technology guy. I don't want to know about that crap. That shit's, I don't need that. And I get it. Everyone would be the same way. If you didn't grow up on a computer or laptop in your teen years, before your preteen years, if you didn't do that, it's extremely hard to then just pick it up and, like, learn it. I'm the one that put my parents' Dell XP whatever, XP89 maybe, is that what it's called? Together. They got it for free from one of their friends who, like, made a shit ton of money. He gave us a computer and they just let it sit in the corner for the longest time. And I didn't really know what it was, in a way, but a part of me was like, put that together. And I literally put it all together and turned it on and started using it. I remember the first game that I ever played. For the longest time, I didn't know how to navigate the computer. So I was like, and I would get lost sometimes trying to even do this. I would, like, click the start button. I would see the motorcycle game and click it. And, like, thankfully it went smoothly and I was able to play the game. Sometimes I'd be like, where am I? I don't know where the game is, So I've been on computers and laptops forever, and people that aren't on them struggle to, unless they have, like, a curiosity for it to learn it, they struggle because, they just don't have it. They're not learning it. So there's that also. It's like, you need to be good with the computer side of things, the electrical, both AC, DC, and mechanics. You don't find that in other trades. Welding? What is welding? It's literally, and it pays great. I'm not talking shit on it. I'm just saying there's only you have to just learn how to be smooth with it, and learn how to make your welds really well. But there's no, like, there's not, plumbing or anything. It's kind of like you got two pieces that you need to either weld or, like, cut through, and that's it. Being a plumber, you've got your plastic, PVC, and it might not be PVC. It could be tons of different, material, but you're just gluing and you're learning how to make the neatest route and have the neatest layout for your piping, but that's it. And so I'm just letting people know about that. It's not easy to learn the trade for being a generator technician, especially if you're not interested in it. And before I get attacked by every other trade, I'm not saying like plumbing is not just that. There's definitely math involved for the size of the pipe needed for the correct gallons per whatever flow rate, and all of that. Every trade is very intricate if you break it down and look into it, but I'm hoping that you can at least see where I'm coming from, in the sense that, you know, the generator side is literally like multiple whole trades that you need to be proficient in, rather than, you know, being an electrician. You don't need to know mechanics, you know, you don't need to know carpentry, right? I guess you could say there's plumbing in being an electrician because of the conduit that you're laying out, but, you know, or HVAC technicians, they definitely have parts of multi-trades, and you could say that about any trade, but you're, like I'm saying, you don't have to basically learn complete trades. You would learn and get trained on HVAC, and with that you would need to know certain things that are electrician sort of things, like measuring resistance, measuring voltage, DC, AC, and that's it. You don't need to really calculate voltage drop. You know, I guess you very well could have to calculate that depending on the length of the run, even for low voltage. You know, any sort of electrical device, controllers, contactors, relays, is going to be a part of an HVAC's day-to-day. You know, they will see that every day at every unit. There will be those devices involved in the whole HVAC unit itself, but you're not really having to learn all of the codes, the NEC rule book, having to learn how to navigate that. Really, you're just kind of having like a small little portion. But, you know, a generator tech is literally an engine, and depending on the size generator, it could be just a typical engine that you would see in vehicles. Diesel engines, Fords, Detroit diesels. And so if you have to rebuild the engine, you're not gonna have someone that is not multiple years experienced in engine rebuilds trying to build that. There's thousands of pieces in an engine. Then you've got the other end, the alternator, you know, the stator, rotor, the excitation stator, rotor, the voltage regulator, all producing different outputs to create what is needed to make the right voltage, to excite the field. Then you have the transfer switch, which is literally like an electrical panel with a transferring mechanism to change from like utility to emergency and then back. And then you've got all of the whole electrical side, which is what I was just saying in terms of all of the components, whether that's relays, contactors, diodes, capacitors, knowing how to measure microfarads, knowing Ohm's law. P is at the top, IE. So to find P, which is going to be power, which is wattage, you would just times current times voltage. So amps times voltage will give you wattage. If you want to find amps, you would take the P, which is wattage, divided by voltage. That will give you your amperage. And then, you know, every trade is difficult to master. But I don't see other trades needing to be going as deep as Gentex in multiple trades. That's it. I'm not saying that we're even. We're definitely better than you guys, but y'all get the point.